Oh man.
Man, very nice.
Like,
Does your fingers got a little soft over the last
yeah,
few
it's
weeks?
like, what the heck?
Man, Carlos, I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. You're looking good, sounding good.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I think you were probably my very first consignment client with Techno
And I
Empire.
remember that.
Yeah. I moved into that warehouse in Burbank, or in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you were storing some gear there. And that gear was, I guess, represented kind of the end of an era for you, because it was the refrigerator racks from the 80s.
Right.
That's what you call refrigerator racks, right?
Yep.
Loaded full of all the gear that you had to have to be the session guy at the time,
That would
right?
suck the tone out of That was it, yeah.
Yeah. And so tell me what do you remember about those racks? I mean, was it kind of like a fashionable thing to have at the time, to be a guy in the mixed? I mean, because your contemporaries, your peers at that time were Larry Carlton and Steve Lukather and other session guys, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, it was a status thing besides the actual gear. And our dream was always, I want to have a studio in my house.
Yeah.
And whenever you'd play your guitar, you'd have your amp, and it was just a volume pedal, amp, and guitar. That's it.
Yeah.
So any effects had to come from the studio.
Yeah.
So you would get, a harmonizer, nice digital reverb, and delay.
Yeah.
And when you go out on tour, everything sounded cheesy because you didn't have that kind of quality.
Okay.
So Bob Bradshaw was the first guy. It's like, I'll put that in a rack.
Yeah.
So then you started to build your stuff. But then
Yeah.
you're basically building a portable studio for your guitar.
Right.
And that would travel with you, but those things are fragile. They're not meant to go and be banged around.
Right.
So I'd be in the middle of a tour. I remember in like Australia, someplace I got really far.
Yeah.
We're about to go on, I sound check. Okay, let's roll. Nothing comes out of the rack.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened? And then they wheel out an amp. So after having all those effects,
Yeah.
now it's like a little plug-in amp, and you sound like a fly.
Right.
So
you get used to this wall of studio
Yeah.
sound out of this massive thing that has to be babysat all the time, I guess. It's
yeah,
all
it
this-
had to go back to the States. It took 3 days for him to turn it around, send it back, and it to arrive again.
Wow.
And there were 2 or 3 times when that happened.
Wow. And you mentioned that it sucked the tone out of the amp. Was that just something you tolerated, or was it you're always trying to find the tone within that
We were
huge system?
Trying to find, and the thing is, now that you look at it, you have your little amp and your guitar, and it sounds great, a Fender, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then they add stuff to that sound.
Gotcha.
But what we did was we went through each piece of gear. So the chain is that long before you get there.
Yeah.
So all that is starting to degrade.
Right.
And then when you finally get it, it's so processed.
Yeah.
But that was the sound of the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Processed distortion, and basically it was just like a big distortion pedal with reverb.
Yeah.
That's what it would turn out to be, with a bunch of pedals, and you'd be dancing.
Right.
It was deep.
Yeah.
Because back then you had like the tones and then a switch, and in a song from the verse to the chorus, it's like you're on one pickup, switch the pickup, dance, 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 bam, and then next thing back to the, and so it was always, and then you just learned the moves.
Yeah.
So
Good
that
thing
was-
the
that
lead
was
singer
throwing
was
shade back
entertaining
then.
the audience, because you were basically doing a tap dance routine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose there was really only one guy in town that knew how to work those rigs. That was Bob Bradshaw.
Bob
He was the
Bradshaw.
only guy to go to.
Yep.
Wow.
If one thing went out, who knows? The back was spaghetti. It was just cables everywhere.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. So, all right. So, bring us up to date here. What's this guitar you're holding right now?
This is a Taylor that I was doing a record for Kenny Loggins, and we were up in Santa Barbara by him, and I had an acoustic guitar, and he said, "Man, you should get a cooler guitar. You should get a Taylor."
Yeah.
And he happened to know the rep, so they brought one, and it was like, okay, I'll keep it, because
Yeah.
it was left-handed. and
Yeah,
it
which is
sounded great.
unusual, because you were used to having a lot of right-handed guitars converted, right?
Yeah, and think about that. Like, if you play this, now there's no cutaway, and you're like up onto here. But I just learned to play, so to have one like this that was cut away was It's like, oh, what a dream. It's a lefty.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a Taylor, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
They're all really consistent. So.
Yeah, they sure are. Yeah. Cool. And so that was your guitar for just a session or a performance that you
At that session, for
Yeah.
that particular record, and then after that, with Stevie Nicks, everywhere we went, this was the guitar. And I think I told you with George Michael, we did his tour. It was called Cover to Cover.
Okay.
And Elton John came out and sang "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and there's a video on YouTube, and you can. I'm playing this guitar.
Oh wow! So you got some mileage out of that guitar.
Oh
then.
man, it's just years and years
Yeah.
of this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you kept it looking good. It doesn't look like it's a road dog.
Yeah, and I think maybe the electronics have been doctored. That's the way it was.
Okay.
And
What do you mean doctored?
I think going through these, it sounded a certain way, so they had to change it so it didn't sound so processed.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I think that was the model. They started. They had like a Neve preamp or something. in
that
there,
was
right?
it. Yeah, and then these guys are so sensitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just had a little mod done to it just to
Yeah.
straighten it out a little bit. Not so
Exactly.
colored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. All right, cool. And what do you like about that guitar? How's it play for you?
I love the fact that it's so consistent. It's balanced from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So all the strings speak equally.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a super big voice.
Yeah.
But especially for live, that's all you need. And you put the puck in between there and you play it, and then you're gone. But it's easy to play. They're all easy to play when they come.
Yeah.
Before we'd have to sand the necks because they'd be so big and thick.
Okay.
And then Taylor got it right. So
Okay.
everyone that came was consistent.
So Carlos, tell us about this guitar you got here. Obviously, it's been strung,
Yeah.
restrung to right-handed, but it was originally left-handed.
Yeah, back in the day, Ovation was the go-to guitar
Yeah.
as far as acoustics. And I had to search for a long time for a right-handed one, which never came. I mean, for a left-handed one.
Yeah.
So this is a righty, and I just switched it over.
And then we switched it back to a right-handed to sell it, but it's so now you can't play it.
Maybe. Ole.
There you go. That probably got you a lot of gigs, though, right?
Yeah, and
Just doing that.
it was with George Michael.
All right, so
There was a
that.
song called Father Figure, and whenever we played live, there's an acoustic guitar part
Okay.
on that, and that's what I used for that whole tour. Well, for a lot of tours, but
Yeah.
if you looked on YouTube, there's the guitar.
Okay, cool. And is this a certain? This is.
You know,
Well,
I
this
have
isn't
to
the.
look. It just says classical 1713.
Okay, I was thinking the other Ovation is the one that's the Miller, or what is his name, the signature model guitar of some
Oh,
of these.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that's got some pretty good history. Went on tour with George Michael.
Yeah.
And you performed with him. That's cool. Carlos, tell us about this guitar.
This was my go-to guitar in the 80s,
Okay.
when Valley Arts first started making, Strats, well, making any kind of guitar.
Yeah.
And Mike made this for me, and I used it on everything. With Lionel Richie, I was out with him for years, and that was the guitar. It's on Running with the Night, all those records. And we were doing a video the first time, and a friend of mine said, hey man, Mike said, what if you put the Valley Arts logo on there? So we'll put it on. So we called it my Eat It Joe's guitar, because it's like splash.
Right.
But this is a typical Strat. It's a lefty, and it's got EMG pickups, which were great. And this was my hammer.
What did you love about the guitar? What do you love about it?
It spanks just like a Strat should.
Yeah.
It's really easy to play, and the sound of these pickups are nice, and they're very quiet.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had a lot of hum, and they were so picky about that, so you had to get these pickups. So that's
Okay.
the coolest part of it.
And I see you frequently have the three-way. You have three-way toggle switches there, and
Yeah, and you
you
can see
pick
the
that
red.
over the five-way blade switch.
Yeah, because remember I was telling you we had to do the dance and hit it?
Yeah.
This way, I knew 2 up or 2 down, and I just had it marked. And the tech had it marked, so I could easily go that.
Okay.
Because the other ones you have to get like in between, and this one, 2 down is in between, or that way.
Okay.
And I think it's on, off, and then out of phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where would you say this guitar ranks in your collection in terms of guitars that were important to you?
I think all the sessions I did, which I can't count how many they were, but
Yeah.
all of them were this guitar.
Wow.
It was my main guitar.
Wow.
All the tours, everything I did on this.
Wow.
So there's only one other guitar that we'll get to.
Yeah.
That Red 335.
Yeah.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
But there was always Gibson versus Fender.
Yeah.
So I had the Gibson. This was the Fender.
Gotcha.
Rhiannon. So
Awesome.
it's like riding a bike. It's like, how does that go? It just happens.
Yeah, yeah.
All of her stuff.
That's beautiful. Thanks for taking the time to come out here today.
Oh, my
Carlos.
pleasure. Thanks
Yeah,
for
we'd
having
love to
me.
hear more.
And we'll do it again.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, brother.
You got it.